All right, ready to dive deep? Today, it's all about university lingo. We're going to decode it all.
Sounds fun.
It is. We've got this YouTube video from Podcast Speak English. They make learning English, enjoyable.
Right.
Especially for those wanting to go to university. Imagine understanding all those terms they use, like in those course catalogs, or just like chatting about college life. That's what we're aiming for here.
Yeah. It's like having a cheat sheet for all the confusing stuff you hear on campus.
Exactly. And one of the first things you face is actually getting into those classes. The video mentions register and sign up, which I'll admit I've used kind of interchangeably.
Oh, yeah, that's a common mix-up.
Is it?
Yeah, sign up feels more casual, right? Like
Yeah.
you're just agreeing to be part of something.
Okay.
But register, that often means there's like a more formal process involved, getting your name officially on a list, maybe even paying some fees.
So like signing up for a study group with friends is way different from registering for an actual course.
Exactly. Register carries more weight. Think of it this way. Putting your name on a list for a bake sale versus registering to vote one's official, the other's more relaxed.
Oh, I get it. Okay, so you've officially gotten on. Now, for the fun part, what to study. The video talks about majors and minors, which can sound intimidating if you've never heard those terms before.
I like to think of it like food, you know?
Okay, I'm listening.
Your major is your main course, the big focus, and your minor, like a tasty side dish. They go together.
So if I'm, let's say, obsessed with history but also love to write, I could major in history and have like creative writing as my minor.
Exactly. Now, both your major and minor appear on your transcript, but usually your degree is officially in your major. There's even some variation on how universities show this. Some list both, some just the major.
It's like a secret code. It reminds me of my friend who double majored in economics and music.
Oh, wow.
Talk about diverse skills.
Absolutely. That's a perfect example of how majors and minors can show off your passions and maybe even lead to different careers.
Right. Absolutely. And speaking of planning for the future, the video mentions credits. I always thought that just meant how many classes you take.
That's a common misconception. Think of credits like points.
Points.
Yeah, points you earn to graduate. And different courses, well, they have different values.
Yeah.
You take a tough science course. That might be worth more credits than an easy intro humanities class. And this can actually affect how much you pay for tuition, too.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
So taking harder classes could actually save money in the long run.
it's a key detail many miss. And those credit values, they're tied to the time and effort a course takes, not just the subject itself.
So you can't just fill up your schedule, whatever.
Yeah.
Got to be strategic about those credits. The video even mentions students having to make up for laziness by taking extra credits.
Oh, yeah.
Ouch, I felt that.
We've all been there. But the important thing is knowing how these credits work and planning, accordingly.
Yeah. Especially if you're on scholarship or financial aid. So credits aren't just numbers, they're like puzzle pieces for your academic goals and maybe even your finances. Speaking of finances, let's talk about a word that makes my stomach churn. Tuition.
Yeah, the video mentions that tuition, especially in the U.S., is a big concern, sometimes even stopping people from going to college.
Yeah, the costs can feel overwhelming. I remember being like totally stressed just looking at the numbers.
It's important to remember, though, that tuition isn't just for universities. It applies to any kind of educational setting, from private high schools to even, those online cooking classes you might be thinking about.
Oh, right.
It basically covers the cost of instruction and resources.
So whether you're aiming for a PhD or just want to learn a new skill, tuition is always a factor. Now, for something super American, the video talks about the freshman to seniors system.
Right, that system, it's in both high school and university. It gives each year of study a specific label.
I didn't grow up with this system, and it always seemed confusing. Like, why not just say first year, second year, and so on?
Well, imagine you're a brand new student, fresh out of high school. You're a freshman, totally new to everything.
Okay.
Then you level up to sophomore, then junior, and finally you reach the top, senior year.
So it's not just about time. It's like your status changes as you move through the system. Senior definitely sounds cooler than just fourth year.
Oh, there's totally a hierarchy. And it's interesting how this system is so ingrained in American culture. It's even in movies, TV shows, books. Think about all those high school movies about senior prom or freshmen getting hazed.
Wow, you're right. It's more than just a label.
Yeah, it's a whole identity.
And it shows how language shapes how we see things and experience them, even in education.
Exactly. But no matter what you call each year, The core experience of learning and exploring your passions is the same everywhere.
Well said. It seems like there's so much more to these terms than we realize. They're not
Yeah.
just words, they're like keys to understanding this whole culture around education.
You got it. Understanding these terms is like having a secret decoder ring to navigate the world of higher education.
Okay, so we've gone from registering for classes to decoding credit systems and even that American thing with freshmen and seniors. What's next?
Oh, this is just the beginning. There's a whole world of university lingo out there.
I'm ready to keep going. Let's
Yeah.
crack this code.
You know how we were talking about signing up for classes?
Yeah.
That simple phrase, it's like the heart of the university experience.
It's like signing up for, like, an adventure.
Exactly. And every good adventure needs a map, right?
I like that.
Well, in university, that map is your class schedule.
Ah, yes, the class schedule. Mine was always color-coded and filled with scribbled notes. Like, it was my lifeline back then.
It's not just a student thing, though, is it?
No,
I mean, we all have schedules, work, fitness, even our social lives.
that's true.
It's all about organizing our time and, all our commitments.
True. But in university, those schedules, they can get pretty crazy. The video even talked about term papers. Oh, yeah.
Those long, research-heavy papers, they can make or break your grade.
Oh, tell me about it. Remember those late nights in the library, fueled by, like, tons of caffeine and the fear of deadlines?
Ugh, don't remind me. And then there were the midterms and finals,
Oh, yeah.
those high-pressure exams, testing everything you've learned.
Talk about stress. But those exams, even though they were nerve-wracking, they really pushed you to understand the material.
Yeah.
Like checkpoints on your learning journey.
It's funny how those, super stressful times can actually become good memories later on. Before we move on, I'm curious about a word that came up in the video. Essay.
Okay.
It seems simple, but I feel like there's more to it.
Oh, definitely. The essay, it's often seen as like a core piece of academic writing. Think of it as a mini argument you're putting on paper.
So it's not just about summarizing facts. It's about having an opinion and backing it up with evidence.
Exactly. It's about critical thinking, research, and presenting your ideas clearly and persuasively. Those skills, they're valuable way beyond just school. It's like training your brain to think analytically and communicate well, stuff you can use in any career.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the personal growth that comes with essay writing.
Oh, yeah.
You're wrestling with ideas, making your argument stronger, and, you learn more about yourself and the world.
It's amazing how much learning happens outside of textbooks.
Right.
Okay, I want to go back to that American system, the freshmen to seniors thing.
Sure.
The video didn't really go into the cultural impact of those terms.
It is fascinating how they've become such a big part of American culture, even influencing movies, TV shows, books.
Yeah, it's like they've become shorthand for those different life stages
Yeah.
with all those stereotypes and expectations that come with them, like the rebellious freshman, the studious sophomore, the carefree junior, and then the wise senior.
It's pretty interesting, right? It creates this shared understanding.
Yeah.
Almost like we're all following the same story.
And it adds another layer of meaning to those terms, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's not just about what year you're in, it's about where you fit in society as a whole.
Exactly. And this cultural influence even affects how we see those years. Like senior year is often seen as this big finale, a celebration before you start a new chapter.
It makes me think about how our language, it doesn't just reflect our experiences, it actually shapes them too.
Yeah.
It's like those terms, they create this roadmap for how we're supposed to experience those years.
That's a great point. Makes you wonder, are we just conforming to those expectations, or are we creating our own unique experiences within that, framework?
That's a good question to think about. It reminds us that even though those terms are so ingrained in our culture, we still get to decide our own path. It's like we're uncovering all these layers,
Yeah.
These terms seem simple at first, but they've got so much cultural baggage and personal meaning.
It makes you think about other words we use.
Right.
Like, what other hidden meanings are there in our everyday language?
That's a great question. It's like a challenge to be more mindful of the words we use and what they really mean. But before we go too far down that road, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive.
Yeah, sounds good.
We've covered a lot today, haven't we? From registering for classes to the whole freshman to seniors thing in America.
We have.
And I hope we've helped our listeners not just understand these terms, but also think about the language around higher education, in a more critical way.
Yeah, because language is power. Right.
It
The
is.
better we understand it, the better we can navigate these systems and make good decisions about our own education.
Absolutely. So if you're feeling inspired, I encourage you to keep learning. There's so much out there to discover.
And maybe you'll even start noticing those hidden meanings and cultural things in your own conversations, everyday life.
It's true. That's what I love about these deep dives.
Yeah.
They open your eyes to new ways of seeing things and make you question what you thought you knew.
Like putting on a new pair of glasses and seeing the world differently.
Well said. I think that's a perfect way to end our little linguistic adventure.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into university lingo. We'll see you next time for another exploration.